Hey guys, we're doing another Assorted Lore video this week. Our topics have been requested by all of these wonderful people. We'll be going over the Realm of Eden, the Tree of Knowledge, and the door to the Tree of Life and Death from the Darksiders series.
First up, let's talk about Eden. Eden is an interesting place in terms of Darksiders lore because it has been the site of a handful of pivotal events in Darksiders history, yet despite this, very little has been said about the location itself. Eden is, like Earth, the Forge Lands, and the Realm of the Dead, a realm, which in Darksiders terminology means a world. A spot of reality unto itself. Eden, as a place rather than the site of an important occurrence, is most completely described in the Abomination Vault novel. But even then, the description is only a few sentences. The realm is described as a world of wonder and beauty, peace and plenty. Death, the book's main protagonist, even goes so far as to muse that Eden might as well be the closest thing in all of creation to an actual paradise. In Darksiders 1, we see that Eden was at least slightly more overtly mystical than Earth as well, or at least more creative with its adherence to the laws of physics as we understand them. As when War steps foot on Eden, we see a world of floating landmasses and seemingly endless waterfalls. Beautiful but impossible sights according to us normies on Earth. We can infer that Eden is also some manner of quasi-heavenly realm, as its features and terrain are nearly identical in design to those of Lost Light, which we're told is something of a shadow of the White City, the realm that acts as the capital for the angels and is thus heaven. Both worlds possess floating landmasses, predominantly golden foliage, and at least during War and Death's brief stays, seem to have beautifully clouded skies wreathed in a perpetual dawn-like light, helping give the world that overall sunny and golden color.
Eden was originally intended to be the home world for the race of humanity, a third kingdom that the Chart Council believed would one day balance the endless conflict between heaven and hell. This fact is actually what leads to the more interesting parts of Eden's mostly barren history. When the Nephilim, the race to which the Four Horsemen belong, became aware that the weak and young race of man was being gifted this lush garden world, while the Nephilim themselves had, supposedly, been scouring the cosmos for a world to call home, despite slaughtering planets worth of people and thus clearing space for themselves at least a handful of times over, they fell upon Eden with the intent of taking it for their own. It was at this point, and on the soil of Eden itself, that the Four Horsemen christened their titles with the blood of their people. Fighting alongside a host of angels, the Four Horsemen butchered their fellow Nephilim to the last warrior. On the fields of Eden, save the four riders themselves, and, technically Absalom, the Nephilim race ceased to exist.
This is where Eden's history gets a little blurry. While no specifics are given, Darksiders 2 heavily implies that the race of mankind was either already born and on Eden during the Nephilim invasion, or was soon to be. Despite this, in the Abomination Vault novel, which takes place a minimum of 500 years after the Nephilim invasion, the angels are secretly guarding Eden in preparation for humanity's colonization, meaning that mankind hadn't been born yet. Whether we are simply misconstruing the events hinted to in Darksiders 2, or the Abomination Vault novel is in fact clashing with the information provided by the game. What happens later is beyond question. At some point after the final confrontation with the Nephilim, whether comparatively immediately or centuries later upon humanity's birth, it was decided that the race of man would be moved to Earth instead of leaving them on Eden. A decision we presume to be at least partially predicated on the level of destruction left in the wake of the final Nephilim battle, as it is noted on more than one occasion that conflicts involving the Nephilim on such scales tended to leave little left of the world on which they made war. Presumably, Heaven's garrisons on Eden were relocated around this time as well, because at some point, Azrael, Archangel of Death, took steps to hide and protect the realm of Eden, or at least a gift planted there by the angels from most people's knowledge, leaving most to believe that Eden was lost after mankind's relocation.
Which leads us to our second topic, the Tree of Knowledge. The gift from heaven we just mentioned was the tree itself. Details on the hows and whys of the tree's creation and placement on Eden are unknown. We would normally presume that it was planted as a seed on Eden and left to grow. However, Azrael calls the tree heaven's first gift, presumably to mankind, and heaven's greatest weapon, which infers an understanding of the tree's capabilities and therefore that the tree had been used by the angels prior to giving it away. Because of this, we instead assume that the Tree of Knowledge was somehow moved wholesale from wherever it was rooted originally to its place on Eden. The tree is a towering giant of sprawling roots and branches, easily several stories tall, comparative to things like the Deku Tree of Zelda fame or the Tree of Life and Death seen elsewhere in the Darksiders universe in terms of size and scale. In fact, some have theorized that the Tree of Life and Death and the Tree of Knowledge are either the same tree or somehow interconnected. As weapons go, the Tree of Knowledge is definitely of the powerful but double-edged variety. It is a mystical tree that seems to have a will of its own, or at least a hidden set of criteria by which it judges those who would try to use its power. In Asriel's words, when approached, the tree grants he or she who approaches it a gift. However, that gift can take many forms, and none know what any individual pilgrim will receive beforehand. It can also be inferred by in-game conversations about the tree that it grants a gift to any individual only once, whether that gift be satisfactory or not.
When approached, the tree may stand silent, gifting the attending traveler with only silence. Conversely, the traveler may be granted knowledge and visions too great or terrible for his or her mind to handle, and thus be driven mad by the tree's gift. And of course, landing somewhere in between, the tree may grant knowledge and visions to the one that steps forward. When War approached the tree, he was given a vision of events from the past, including events that it would be reasonable to assume only those present were privy to, as well as briefer, less clear images of his own personal future. Additionally, he was physically gifted with a piece of the weapon that had been scattered and would need to be reforged to proceed in his quest, which leads us to presume that that piece would have been nearly, if not completely, impossible to obtain otherwise. From this event, we know that the tree can see, or at least grant travelers visions of, the past, the future, and logically, the present. We know that the tree can know things only one or two creatures should be able to know, and we can thus infer that it can show someone just about any piece of knowledge, information, or history that exists. But its power goes beyond simply granting visions and giving knowledge. By presenting War with the hilt of the Armageddon blade, we see that the tree's power extends into the physical, and not just the mental, though we have no idea the scope of that particular set of powers. It should also be noted that in all of Darksiders' various stories, the only two characters we know for certain have accepted the gift from the Tree of Knowledge are Abaddon and War, though we don't know what Abaddon was given. On a related note, Asriel and War's Watcher are the only two characters we know have not been granted a boon by the tree.
On to our final topic, the door to the Well of Souls. The door to the Well of Souls is locked by a dual set of keys, one given to heaven, the other to hell for safekeeping. The two forces that most aptly describe the opposition of light and dark in the Darksiders universe, just as the Tree of Life and Death itself spans all of reality, both light and dark. The design of the door to the Well of Souls reflects this overall motif. As a quick aside, it should be noted that while the Tree of Life and Death connects nearly every world in creation, Earth being the only known exception, it does so via a network of portals nestled about its roots. Like the portals, the door itself exists on each world and in every tree, each door leading to the same place, the Well of Souls, the hub for the life and death cycle of the Darksiders universe. The door's design reflects the duality of that universe, with the left side, the side for the Angel Key, depicting the Tree of Life, a growing, healthy, lush tree, while the right side, the side for the Demon Key, depicts the Tree of Death, a gnarled, barbed, leafless tree. The bottom of each door has 4 engravings lining each of the doors, 4 for the light, 4 for the dark. The light side has one depiction of some form of winged creature, possibly an angelic beast or some sort of bird, while the other 3 show an angelic figure. The first holding a crown beneath the sun. The second has the same or a similar figure astride some sort of elk-looking thing on top of a cliff, silhouetted by a sun and followed by some robed figures. We're assuming all of these smaller figures on both sides of the door are supposed to represent humans, but we have no way to be sure, it just seems the most logical to us. And the last on the angelic side shows the same, or a similar, angelic figure floating above some robed figures in front of something that looks much more mechanical, or perhaps is some sort of astronomical device, rather than a sun. We can honestly say very little about these depictions with surety, except that Archon Lucian, encountered in Darksiders 2 along with his door, is the only angel encountered in the series with exactly that same decorative mantle design shown in all 3 angelic depictions. The angel in the carvings doesn't have 4 wings though, so it could be something like a younger Archon Lucian, a different Archon, assuming that that mantle in question is a symbol of status, or if fan presumptions about Lucian being a Seraphim, and Seraphim being a slightly different kind of angel is correct, these may each simply be depictions of Seraphim, though again, we have no way to be sure.
The right side of the door has 4 other depictions, one showing a small host of undead warriors, another showing a suffering towering over a lone warrior-like figure, a third depicting what is clearly Lilith moving alongside a figure that looks suspiciously like Draven from the Lord of Bones court, though whether that is actually Draven is hard to say, and what meaning a possible relationship between the two would have, or why they are both depicted on the door to the Well of Souls, is unknown. While the last image shows a large Legion demon towering over two warrior-like figures. It's worth noting that Legion demons have only been seen working for Samael and later in a Darksiders 2 DLC for Belial, though that by no means indicates that they are only working for those two demon lords, so we really couldn't say what each engraving is supposed to mean. We once again presume that the smaller warrior-like figures in these images are meant to depict humans, obviously in an attitude of combat and resistance rather than the worship or at least following of the robed figures on the other side of the door. Though what meaning this could hold, beyond perhaps a simple representation of humanity tending to lead towards the light and fight the darkness, we couldn't say. And even that's conjecture. Finally, the door holds three prominent facial images along the seam where the double doors would split. At the top, there is a bearded, possibly horned man that might be wearing a crown. At the center of the door is a carving of a skull, also wearing something crown-like, though notably not the same one worn by the bearded image above. Finally, at the bottom, melding the two doors, is the image of a woman, also wearing a crown-like headpiece and sporting some sort of tattoo-like design on her cheeks. We try to give just factual information for these lore videos, but there's really very little to go on for these doors. In regards to these last three images, our best guess would be that the bearded image represents life, the skull death, and the woman rebirth, as this is the life cycle of the Darksiders universe, and female iconography is often used in birth and rebirth imagery. Though again, that is all entirely conjecture on our part.
And that's basically what we know about Eden, the Tree of Knowledge, and the Door to the Well of Souls. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like, and if you have ideas for videos you'd like to see us do in the future, do like all of these wonderful people, and let us know in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore or Let's Play, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been True Masters and Morons, signing off. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like it, hit this subscribe orb.
To see our last Let's Play, click or tap the link on the right.
For our last lore video, go to the link on the left.
And for a video chosen by the gods of YouTube from our channel, hit that link on top.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.